London, England. Kensington, October 14th, 1969. 9:30 p.m. A narrow staircase descending into a basement. At the bottom, a small studio. Piano, mirrors, the smell of old sheet music and coffee. A 23-year-old man with long dark hair and uncertain eyes pushes open the door. His name is Farrokh Bulsara. In 4 years, he'll change it to Freddie Mercury. In 10 years, he'll be the biggest rock star on the planet. But tonight, he's just a broke art student with a dream and a voice he doesn't know how to use. An older woman, maybe 50, sits at the piano. Her name is Eleanor Fazan. She was trained by Dame Joan Sutherland, one of the greatest opera singers who ever lived. She could have been famous herself. But life, choices, bad luck, left her here, teaching in a basement for 5 hours an hour. Freddie doesn't have 5 hours. "I can't pay you," Freddie says immediately, "but I need to learn. I have this voice, but I don't know what it can do. I need someone to show me." Eleanor looks at him, studies his face. "Sing something," she says. "Anything." Freddie hesitates. Then he opens his mouth, and what comes out makes Eleanor's hands freeze on the piano keys. This is the story of what happened next. The 3 years of secret training that created the voice that would sing Bohemian Rhapsody. The promise Freddie made and then broke. And the letter found in Eleanor's belongings after she died that revealed what Freddie really felt about the woman who made him possible. To understand why Freddie needed Eleanor, you have to understand where he was in 1969. He'd been born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar, moved to England as a teenager, studied art and design. He loved music desperately. He'd been in a few bands, Ibex, Sour Milk Sea, nothing that went anywhere. He had charisma, stage presence. But his voice was wild, untrained, raw power with no control. He could hit high notes that shocked people, but he couldn't sustain them, couldn't shape them, couldn't make them do what he needed. He knew he had something special, but he didn't have the technique to unlock it. That's why he found Eleanor. Eleanor Fazan had been a prodigy. At 19, she was studying under Dame Joan Sutherland, one of the greatest sopranos in opera history. She was being groomed for La Scala, for the Metropolitan Opera, for greatness. Then her mother got sick. Cancer. Eleanor dropped everything, moved back to London to care for her. By the time her mother died 3 years later, Eleanor's moment had passed. The opera world is unforgiving. You're either rising or you're forgotten. Eleanor was forgotten. She took whatever work she could find, teaching, session singing, coaching rock musicians who could barely read music. It was a long fall from La Scala, but she never lost her knowledge, never lost her technique. She just lost her audience. When Freddie sang for her that first night, Eleanor heard something she'd only heard a handful of times in her life. Natural talent. But more than that, hunger, desperation. The same hunger she'd had at 19, the same desperation to be more than ordinary. "You have a gift," Eleanor told him, "but it's chaos. You're shouting when you should be singing. You're forcing notes instead of letting them come. If you keep singing like this, you'll destroy your voice in 5 years." Freddie's face fell. "So I can't do it?" Eleanor smiled. "I didn't say that. I said you need training, real training, opera training." Freddie laughed. "I'm not trying to sing opera. I'm trying to be in a rock band." Eleanor shook her head. "It doesn't matter what genre you want. The technique is the same. Breath control, vibrato, resonance. If you want that voice to last, if you want it to do what you hear in your head, you need classical training." Freddie looked at the floor. "I told you, I can't pay." Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'll teach you for free, but I need a promise. When you make it, and you will make it, you tell people where you learned. You tell them about opera training, about classical technique. You show the world that rock and roll doesn't have to be ignorant. Deal?" Freddie looked up, met her eyes. Deal. Quick thought. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you had nothing to offer in return? Someone who saw your potential and invested in you anyway? That's what Eleanor did for Freddie. Not for money, not for fame, just because she believed. If someone ever did that for you, drop a comment. Because those people, they're the invisible architects of every success story. For the next 3 years, Freddie came to that basement twice a week. Tuesday and Thursday nights, 9 p.m. to midnight. Eleanor put him through operatic training that would break most people. She started with breathing. Rock singers breathe from their chest, Eleanor explained. Opera singers breathe from their diaphragm. Watch. She took a breath, held it, then sang a single note that filled the entire room for 30 seconds, without wavering. Freddie was amazed. "How?" Eleanor smiled. "Practice. Lay on the floor." Freddie laid down. Eleanor put a heavy book on his stomach. "Breathe so the book rises. Not your chest, your stomach. That's your diaphragm. That's where the power comes from." For weeks, Freddie practiced breathing. Just breathing. He'd come to sessions and Eleanor would have him lie on the floor for an hour, breathing, feeling his diaphragm expand and contract. It was boring, frustrating. But slowly, Freddie's breath capacity increased. He could hold notes longer, sustain phrases that before would have left him gasping. Next came range. Freddie naturally sang high, tenor, but Eleanor pushed him further. "You have at least 4 octaves in you," she said. "Maybe more. But you're afraid of the low notes. You think they're not dramatic enough." She was right. Freddie loved soaring high notes. But Eleanor made him explore his lower register. The richness, the power, the way low notes could create tension that made high notes explode. They worked on vibrato, the controlled wavering of a note that adds emotion and texture. In rock, vibrato is often natural, instinctive. In opera, it's precise, controlled. Eleanor taught Freddie to turn his vibrato on and off like a switch, to use it for emotion, not as a crutch. Then came the hardest part. Pronunciation, diction. Operatic technique demands that every syllable is clear, every word understood, even at the back of a massive theater. Eleanor drilled Freddie on consonants, on vowel shapes, on how to make words cut through music without a microphone. "Rock and roll has amplification," Eleanor said. "But I'm training you like you'll never have a microphone. Because if you can fill a room with just your voice, imagine what you'll do with technology." 3 years, hundreds of hours. And in all that time, Freddie told almost no one. His bandmates in Queen, Brian May, Roger Taylor, John Deacon, they knew Freddie was working on his voice. But they didn't know he was training in classical opera technique. Freddie kept it secret. Why? Because in 1970, rock and roll was supposed to be raw, untrained, punk, rebellious, classical training, opera, that was the enemy. That was what rock was rebelling against. Freddie knew if people found out he was taking opera lessons, they'd call him a sellout, inauthentic. So he hid it. And he made Eleanor promise to hide it too. In 1973, Queen released their first album. Freddie's voice on those recordings, the range, the control, the power. It shocked the music world. Critics said, "Where did this voice come from?" Fans said, "He's not human." But no one said, "He trained in classical opera." Because Freddie never told them. Eleanor, sitting in her basement, heard Queen on the radio and smiled. Her student was making it, just like she knew he would. Then came 1975, Bohemian Rhapsody, a 6-minute opera rock epic. Vocals that spanned 3 octaves, harmonies that required classical precision, phrasing that was pure opera, and it became the biggest song in the world. Eleanor heard it and cried, because she heard her lessons in every note. The breath control in the opening, Mama Just Killed a Man. The vibrato on For Me. The pronunciation, crisp and clear even through the chaos. This was opera technique applied to rock and roll, and it changed music forever. Freddie Mercury became a god. Queen sold out stadiums. We Are the Champions. Somebody to Love. Don't Stop Me Now. Every song showcased a voice that seemed superhuman. Journalists asked Freddie, "How do you have this range, this control?" Freddie would smile and say, "I just sing what I feel." He never mentioned Eleanor, never mentioned opera training, never mentioned the basement in Kensington. He'd broken his promise. Why? Maybe he was embarrassed. Maybe he thought people wouldn't understand. Maybe, in the chaos of fame, he just forgot. Or maybe he was protecting his image, the image of Freddie Mercury, the wild, untrained rock god. Admitting to classical training would have shattered that myth. So he stayed silent, and Eleanor stayed forgotten. She kept teaching, in the same basement, for the same $5 an hour. She'd hear Queen on the radio and feel proud, but also hurt. She never asked Freddie for money, never demanded credit. She just wanted acknowledgement, a mention, a thank you for teaching me. It never came. In 1987, Freddie was diagnosed with AIDS. He knew he was dying. And in those final years, something changed. He started thinking about legacy, about the people who helped him, about debts unpaid. He tried to find Eleanor, sent people to Kensington to track her down. But Eleanor had moved. No forwarding address, no phone number. She disappeared into the same obscurity she'd lived in before Freddie found her. On November 24th, 1991, Freddie Mercury died. The world mourned. 1 billion people watched his tribute concert. Every major artist sang his songs. And in a small apartment in Brighton, Eleanor Fazan, now 72, watched on TV and wept. 3 months later, Eleanor died. Heart failure, alone, no family, no money. She left behind a few belongings, sheet music, old photos, and a wooden box. Inside the box was a letter, addressed to Eleanor, in Freddie's handwriting. It had been written in 1990, a year before he died. Freddie had tried to mail it but never found her address, so he kept it. And in his will, he left instructions. Find Eleanor Fazan, give her the letter and $50,000. She made me possible. Freddie's estate finally found Eleanor in 1992, but she was already gone. The letter was given to her landlord, who opened it and called the press. This is what Freddie wrote. "Dear Eleanor, I know I broke my promise. I know I never told the world what you did for me. I was afraid they'd think I was fake, afraid they'd say my voice wasn't natural. But the truth is, you gave me everything. You taught me how to breathe, how to sing, how to be Freddie Mercury. And I should have shouted your name from every stage. I'm sorry I didn't. I'm sorry I let fear make me selfish. You deserved better. You deserve the world to know. I hope this money helps. I hope you know I never forgot you. Every note I ever sang, I sang with your lessons in my lungs. Thank you for believing in a broke kid with a dream. Thank you for making me possible. With love and regret, Freddie." The letter was published. The $50,000 went to a charity for music teachers in Eleanor's name. And finally, 30 years after those basement lessons, the world learned the truth. Freddie Mercury's legendary voice wasn't just natural talent. It was classical opera training. Breath control, vibrato, range development, all taught by a woman the world never knew. So what do we take away from this story? What's the lesson? Maybe it's this. Behind every genius is a teacher. Behind every legend is someone who believed first. Eleanor Fazan gave Freddie Mercury the tools to become a god. She asked for nothing but acknowledgement, and she died without it. But her legacy lived in every song, every note, every moment Freddie made the impossible look easy. Freddie knew it. He just didn't say it loud enough. And that's a regret he carried to his grave. Eleanor Fazan, the voice teacher who made Freddie Mercury possible. The woman who taught a broke art student how to breathe like an opera singer. The invisible architect behind Bohemian Rhapsody. She deserved better. But her story, at least, is finally told. The music is bigger than any of us. But the stories? The stories are what keep the music alive. Subscribe for more. Hit like if this touched you. And remember, behind every legend is a human who loved, who hurt, who tried. Just like you. Just like me. Thanks for watching.